We don't really cover so much films that are not getting a theatrical release because it's such an endless subject these days with all the sort of mini film festivals that are happening around the place. You just couldn't possibly cope with it all.
But are you talking about, you know, having a moral judgment about seeing a film before you see it? Well, no, because I'm anti-censorship. You know, I think you've got to be able to say what you want to say in writing on film and be judged on it. So I would absolutely welcome, you know, here leader to present you with a film from North Korea.
I've only ever seen one film from North Korea, and it was unbelievably bad. But South Korean films, many of them were very good.
Oh, it's amazing how the balance of cinemas shifts, you know, and Italy hasn't really got a very great history at the moment. It used to be grand cinema, and it seems to have gone, you know, to the Middle East with the Iranian filmmakers, and then, you know, the South Koreans are doing incredible stuff, very strong.
I know what Margaret's is, and she knows what mine is.
Well, because, you know, the list, there'd have to be 100 on the list, so we pick one, and mine is from that era, which is the 1970s, and it's Nashville, Robert Altman's Nashville, which was you know, politically satirical, fighting, mournful about American aspirations and disappointments, and at the same time it's a musical and funny. So, and it was very difficult to get hold of for a long time. And I saw it again, and you're always scared that the film that you love isn't actually quite as good 20 years later that you thought it was, but this is. It's really wonderful, and I love it still.
And mine is also a musical. It's Singing in the Rain. I don't profess it's the best film ever made. You're not asking me that. You're asking me about favourite. And I think I love musicals. There was a time when a new musical film opened at least once a week, it was one of the musical and the western were two of the most important genres, and they both almost disappeared. And when they resurface, you get terrible things like burlesque, which I hope most of you managed to avoid. Anyway, but Singing in the Rain is not only the best musical, but it's also falls into my love of cinema history, because it's about that amazing moment in cinema history when silent films gave way to talkies. And it's an area that I've researched an awful lot for the classes that I teach. And I've, again, through the wonder of DVD and video and rare collectors of rare items around the world, you can now see a lot more than you ever could before of the films that were made in that transition period. And they're really interesting. And Singing in the Rain taps into that in a very accurate way, actually. The way it depicts the transition. It's done in a somewhat exaggerated way, but the basic facts are there. And so I love it for that. And it's funny, and it has Debbie Reynolds, so what can you do? You know, Francois Truffaut once said that for him, the most sublime moment in the whole of the cinema was the moment in the Good Morning number in Singing in the Rain, where the three, Gene Kelly, Donald O'Connor, and Debbie Reynolds, they come as a couch, and they sort of leap over the couch, and Debbie Reynolds is holding her skirt down to cover her knees in a very demure sort of way. Truffaut said that for him was the most sublime moment. Just look for it next time you see the film.
David, I've been married for a couple of years longer than you guys have been showing, but we keep the same side of the bed. Do you guys ever switch?
No.
No. But do you know, I think even when we did that skit for some show, if we do have to have a wind-up, I do want to say that I was never...
Oh, wait a minute, you haven't answered the question.
No, I said no.
But I mean, there's more to it than that.
What?
Well, but you don't... Well, forget it. I thought you could extrapolate. What, you could talk about the time when we did share it. We're among friends.
I was going to say something really, really nice because
We didn't-
I
we
was
didn't-
not in a position at all.
We didn't really share it.
I was David's producer and ended up doing the movie show by accident. And it evolved out of us having lunches together and saying, wouldn't it be great if we could get a show up on television about movies? And we used to talk about film, but I was never going to be in it. But I have to tell you, he's the most marvellous enthusiast about film. He's got an amazing knowledge. It's intimidating. But he is so generous with his knowledge, which is why I think he loves his lecturing so much, because he can enthuse whole new generations of filmmakers. And I just want to say that I feel very lucky and very privileged to have, you know, been his friend and have had this education and enthusiasm from him over all these years.
The one thing I'm not generous with is I don't lend Margaret my DVDs.
He's a tight ass with it.
But thank you, Margaret. She's obviously pretty wonderful too, and we wouldn't have lasted as long if we weren't good friends and respect one another, even if we don't always agree with one another.
No, but you know, Siskel and Ebert, the American team, apparently did not like one another
they
at all. And they went on for many, many years together, and I think that would have been really odd to make a show over that length of time really not liking, you know, the person that you're working very closely with. So we've been very lucky, really very lucky.
Just a final word. I'm very pleased that we've got a couple of people in the audience today who, one of whom, sitting in the front row in the middle, was our producer on the programme at SBS through many important years, and Richard, it's lovely to see you here. And our present producer, Claude, is here too. And our executive producer, Amanda, is here. And we're very, very pleased.
More than that.
Well, she's a friend as well.
Head honcho.
And finally, could I say that there's a film called Belle of the 90s that was made in 1934, starring Mae West. I love Mae West. Do you like Mae West?
Yes.
And in Belle of the 90s, Mae West sings one of her raunchiest songs. It's called I Wonder Where My Easy Rider's Gone. Now, the projectionist hit today up there in the box is called Ryder. So, Ryder, thank you very much indeed for getting all the clips perfectly right. And thank you, Matt, and thank you, Tom, from the Mercury Theatre for being so nice and looking after us so well. And thank you to the Film Festival. And thank you for coming to see us this afternoon. We really enjoyed it. Thanks very much.